Hello there, I'm Narrowbacks. Welcome back to our Williams Speedrun. Currently we're doing pretty well. We have a decent lead in both the team championship here, almost 300 points to Ferrari. Driver championship, we have 110 points to second place, 120 points to first place. Doing really good there. But now that I've got my thoughts together and summed up, what we're going to be trying to do in this final part of Season 4 will be to alleviate some of the negatives of the technical directive. So the regulation change for next season means that we're going to lose a lot of airflow on virtually all our parts. And the goal here will be mainly to fix that for rear wing, front wing, and underfloor. Again, it's a 20% loss in expertise for most parts because our expertise is fairly high. The regulation change itself is minus 30% your current expertise. We're going to try and, again, cancel that out with research. So that's the plan. We are still going to try and see how, how high we can pull drag reduction on the chassis, or we might do it on the suspension because it has more stats and therefore allows us to, focus more time and effort into drag reduction. We'll have to see. We'll be trying to maximize drag reduction on one of these, chassis or suspension, and then we'll see how it goes from there. Research-wise, underfloor, rear wing, and front wing, we'll try and alleviate the regulation change negatives. And I think that will be our goal for the season. With that said, thank you to everyone who has liked and subscribed. It helps me out a ton. And I would like to use this opportunity to remind everyone who hasn't yet to please do so. As again, I'm very grateful. It helps me out. And it makes it a lot more fun to make these videos when you see that people actually enjoy them. So again, thank you. And we'll get into it. So currently, we are halfway through the season. We have the French Grand Prix coming up in a day. So we're just going to speed through towards that and get our performance targets set up. So we're going to reach Q2, we're going to qualify 1-2, that'll be the goal, both drivers of course, as we usually do. Fast finish position, I thought it was fast lap, 1-2, finish position should be okay, and our position streaks look good. So with that, let's get on with this next race. French Grand Prix went well for us. Piastri first and fastest lap, doing second. And we have Ocon, first podium for Mercedes. Norris and Bottas doing well for McLaren. 4th and 8th for Ferrari, but Sainz was really looking for... Should have come third, unless he had a bad lockup, sent him to the back. Made a good work there, making his way back up again. Gasly also had a very good race. Could have potentially gotten more if he was a bit more lucky. But both Alpines in the points and only one Red Bull. Verstappen, I didn't notice any accidents, but the Red Bull clearly is suffering at the moment. Drivers' Championship is... Leclerc up in third, Russell down to fourth. 4 points now between Piastri and Doohan, and in terms of constructors, no big changes. With that, let's just continue and we'll see how we did development-wise. Pretty good for both of our drivers, and Porsche has been remembered. Money-wise, we made almost $1 million extra, which is good to see. And again, we're not in economical trouble. We really won't ever be. We have 81 million to play with. The only thing that's going to limit our playing money is the 21 million cost cap here. So I'm a bit unsure if we can reach this, but just doing research. But we'll do our best attempts. If at the end of the season we haven't broken the cost cap, we'll just do emergency purchases to bring our cost up. So don't worry about it. This season we will be breaking the cost cap just out of curiosity. Let's see just how harsh or light of a punishment that would give us in this game. Helipad has been refurbished. Board review is coming up soon. Should be okay. We have received congratulations for our race. Let's move on to the next one. Chassis design has been completed, and with that we could manufacture, but again, this is a drag reduction maximizer project, so they will not be particularly good for anything but that. What we're basically doing is just this, to maximize our expertise within drag reduction. As you can see, currently just 68.3%. So we might do it on something else. As I was saying, I'm thinking we switch over to the suspension. More stats means more expertise gained, interestingly enough, because you have less things to focus on. And by doing this, again, you can gain a bit more in drag reduction expertise. Currently it's at 69.3. If we did this, we can actually check how much we're expecting through research, suspension, and again, maximize, minimize, all of these. And we can expect to gain 2.44% with the added bonus of running intense. So I'm actually going to quickly note down these numbers and actually try and remember this time, because I believe we tried to do this earlier, but I forgot about it. So let's check how much intense works in this regard. But to make it fair, we need to put in 5 engineers. As you can see, that lowers it to 1.9. You don't actually gain less expertise, but here's the kicker. When you do research projects, you gain expertise, but by putting engineers on it, you gain technically more expertise a day, but you gain less expertise total because your project finishes faster. So if I run the same amount of time with 5 engineers and 1 engineer, I'll overall get a little bit more expertise running 5 than I would running 1. So you gain more expertise per day by putting on more engineers, but it does cost you, as you can see, some expertise doing so. So let's note down the numbers and then we'll set up the sign. Here we are, we've set everything up. So we're going to use the sign, we're going to power through suspensions. They actually take 1 less day to design compared to the chassis. So we're going to power through the suspension, there's more stats to play with, we have more room to, you know, get stats. Remember that brake cooling and airflow is going to get absolutely shafted next year, so we will not be developing those at all, even if we had everything as is. But funnily enough, this part alone will be a buff. Like minimizing everything, only focusing on drag reduction, will be a buff to our car. So it's actually not in our worst interest to just make this. So 5 engineers, we're going to go intense. We could get an extra engineer to speed things up, but it wouldn't be too much here. So seeing that we're in July, we'll probably be able to get out 5, 6 of these, and we're probably going to have to use 3 of those to do research on airflow, so we don't lose too many stats next year. But that's a whole different kettle of fish. 810,000, let's go. And currently, we could potentially manufacture this, but the next one is actually going to be a just straight up upgrade, so that is good. Chassis wise, we're still not in upgrade territory, and our current projects, as we can see here, underfloor, rear wing, and side pods. This side pod project we're going to change over to the front wing, I think. And we're actually going to do that right now. Because again, we need those big 3. Those big 3 are our main priority. Again, let's have a quick look here. Research benefit of airflow. We have gotten 5%, well 3.3% research benefit there, so it's not all bad. As I said, we do want to put effort into front wing here, just because it's that important compared to the rest of our car. So even with this, we will get a little bit into brake cooling, 1.26%, because our expertise is so low to begin with. But losing 22.4% in front wing is gonna hurt a lot. So we are going to be doing this to again help the turning stats of next year's car by mainly alleviating the loss here in airflow sensitivity and airflow front from the regulation change. So that is going to be the goal. Gonna check out the engineers on it, and as you can see, the gain will be less. That's just how the system works. We'll still get more overall expertise gain as we run more and more projects. So we're gonna spend $1 million on this research project, and judging by the money I'm spending right now, we might actually break the cost cap without getting into you know, emergency production. Hungarian Grand Prix coming up. We're gonna go both cars in Q2, qualifying 1-2 as usual, and fastest lap. With that, we're off to the races. Hello there, and welcome back. We just finished the Hungarian Grand Prix, 1-2 as usual. Piastri, fastest lap, first place, doing a little bit behind here. I didn't pay super good attention because I was interested in things happening further back, but I assume he got a little bit left behind as a result of back markers, which, again, not much we can do about that. But Giovinazzi here had a superb race for Haas, as you can see. 5th place, pretty good for them. Ocon with his 2nd podium, Verstappen with a 4th place, Red Bull a little bit back here. Leclerc in 9th, and Norris with a 6th place here. I assume Bottas here ran out of fuel, but I'm a little bit unsure. Could just be they crashed out the second we were over the finish line, and then the lap cars just, you know, weren't allowed to overtake him. But I don't know there. As a Drivers' Championship, Piastri overtakes Doohan. Ocon is now ahead of Perez. And Giovinazzi moves up to 13th position. Constructors, Haas moves up 2 places there after doubling their points. Alfa Romeo and AlphaTauri gets kind of left behind. But other than that, everyone's standing where they were. Ferrari had a bad race, all things considered. And here's the funny part. You can actually check how the other team's drivers are if you go into the data view. If you go into session here, lap history, there's something here called car condition. So for our car, we were running with a 94% engine at the end of the race, 35% gearbox, 84% ERS. And this is basically the same for both our drivers, as you can see. You can also check just how much your different components you generate during the race. 96 at start and 94 here at end. So it gives you a good idea on how, you know, punishing certain components are. But here's the thing, you can actually check that for your opposing team as well. So for Leclerc here, he's running with a bad engine. Sainz running with even worse machinery. But then again, he had puncture here, as you can see, that he also pulled through 1 lap with, suffering. So that's a bit awkward. Bottas, decent enough. Norris enough. Perez, worrying. Verstappen, worrying. Ocon is worrying on his ERS. Russell, even more worrying, even though he quickly got kicked out, so to speak. He had a DNF. Ricciardo worrying. Gasly worrying. Giovinazzi actually had a new engine, which probably explains why, in part, why he did as well as he did. Because a lot of the other people here on the grid are running shit equipment. So they might have to tune the AI a bit towards this too. This definitely helps in making the game easier, that they're not managing their equipment properly. Once engines get below a certain threshold, they really need to just be relegated to practice engines only. And I'll have a video up on that shortly, just how different a 100% engine is to, say, a 10% one. But even just a 40% one, it's going to suffer massively compared to an engine that is above, say, 80% wear. So if you keep that in mind, your engine plays a huge part in your pace. And you can even see that just from this race with Giovinazzi here, making it up from what is virtually last place to first place here. And, well, that's my little rant on, you know, AI engine use, but that's also something that will help the game pacing, make it more challenging. And that also probably explains why it will feel at times like, oh, the AI has brought a huge upgrade. When in reality, oh, they just changed their engine part to one that works. Good day for our drivers here. Decent amount of development points for everyone there. And we made a decent amount of money too. Almost 900,000 extra, which of course we'll take with us. That's a good day. Mid-season board review. We're on target for both goals here, which is of course first. And we'll be granted a whopping 1.5 million for our work. Now, before this race in France, I forgot to spend these points, so we can do that now. We're gonna get pace stats up to 97. We're gonna get consistency stats up to 97. And then we'll start working on probably smoothness, in all honesty. Again, we don't need overtaking, we don't need defending. It does make too much of, you know, a gain or loss at this stage. So in all honesty, we're just gonna focus pace, we're gonna focus consistency for our drivers here, because the only one they really overtake, unless they start really far back, is, you know, each other. So that's perfectly okay. Now, we did well in Hungary, which is good. We will continue to Belgium here. We have the summer break ahead of us, which means that we'll probably get some designs done, maybe. Then we have one coming in here for the suspension, I assume. Yeah. And with that, we did have the notes that we had last time. So let's quickly go and check out the suspension here that we have designed, because this one, I believe, if we check the warehouse for suspension, it's actually a general upgrade on every single one of our stats. So we're actually going to manufacture 4 of these, because there's no reason not to. We could rush them. We'll have them in time then, and I think we might. It's just 100k extra. So let's rush those suspensions. that both our drivers can have them. And we're now going to go quickly into the research screen here and have a look at drag reduction for the suspension here. So let me just get my note sheet here. I believe that we were at 69.31 before we did this, and the expected one with the 5 engineers, which we did, was 1.9% gain. So 69.31 plus 1.9 is 71.2. So we gained a little bit of extra car expertise here. It's not much, but of course that little expertise helped, especially at these higher ranges. So if we do that again, how much can we expect to gain? 1.9%. But this is without the engineer debuff, if you will. So 1.52. So after one project here, we've gone from 1.9 expected gain to 1.52 expected gain. So as you can see, it really slows down. We gained, as you can imagine there, not a lot. What did we gain? 2.5% maybe? And that cut off 25% almost of the next part's gain. So once you get to 70-75%, it really slows down, which is also why I want to try and do this push to 80 and just see if it's even possible. So we're going to keep on doing what we have been doing. We'll probably try and alleviate these towards the end. But as you can see, even just doing this, we gain a little bit of alleviation, and of course a little bit of gain even in downforce. So we are going to keep on developing here. But as you can see, intense, it still gives you a lot, all things considered. Because, what was it? We were supposed to be getting 71.2, we gained 71.7. So it's just 0.5%. But that 0.5% is, again, a lot under the circumstances. So you'll have to see bigger gains, of course, at lower expertise levels, which, again, means the lower your expertise, the better your gain is by focusing it. Now, we are going to be making this one again, and because we're focusing on drag reduction, it's, again, most likely going to be an upgrade. But we'll have to see just how much of an upgrade after it had been made. So let's get that done. We'll probably run one more. And then I'll have to see what I do in pre-season in terms of trying to, getting some more research done or developing it during next season's pre-season for testing purposes. But we gained a little bit extra. Pusher here has extra points that go into accuracy right away. And the rear wing research has been completed. Now, we used hours on this. So I assume the gain was pretty massive, all things considered. So airflow sensitivity, we're at 17.64. We're currently looking at a loss of about 5%. Well, less than that, 4.5%. Which we will, of course, try and alleviate. We also have very high drag reduction. We have very high everything, really, on the rear wing. So it's, again, just we want to alleviate this as much as we can, because car part expertise at this level just takes so much effort to gain and maintain, if you will. So we'll run one more project at the very least, probably one more too, because we'll be losing some gain here as a result of, well, just straight up running 5 engineers. Cost cap, let's have a quick look again. 17 million now, so August, we have September, October, November, December, 4 months left. If we keep on like this, we might be in danger, but as I said, we'll just emergency manufacture if we do not breach it. Let's set up the goals here for Belgium. Both drivers 1-2, usual. Both drivers in Q3. Finish will be a 1-2. And with that, we are off, I think. Yeah. Yeah, we'll be looking into, again, the research and, of course, trying to maximize the drag reduction here. We'll do that probably for a little while longer, as I said. We'll use the suspension because it has more modifiers, which in theory could lead to a potential higher gain. So there are better parts to do this on, but they take a far longer to manufacture, so your overall gain will be less. The reason why underfloor, rear wing, and front wing are so far ahead of the other pieces is because we have focused so hard on them, but mainly also because of the reason why we focus on them is that they just give the best benefits. So with that, again, we're off to Belgium. Belgian Grand Prix has just finished, and as you can see, another 1-2. Doing with the victory here. fastest lap, very good for him. Piastri second. Now, Gasly here, getting third for Alpine. It's quite impressive. Mercedes is 4-5. Giovinazzi got another good race here, probably again due to the engine. McLaren 7th. Leclerc and Sainz 9th, and Verstappen 10th. So, the teams are struggling, but I also feel like they're starting to like level out most of the teams. They don't have specific design strategies that keeps them being top teams, which is good, but also kind of weird at this point. It seems like the engine will be the deciding factor, and the wear level in the coming races or towards the end of the season, which is kind of weird but funny. Now, in terms of driver championship, Doohan takes second place again. Sorry, first place again. Piastri down to second. Russell up to third. Leclerc fourth. Ocon climbs up to sixth. Sainz down to seventh. And Giovinazzi, with his performance, puts himself up into 12th. Gasly, even with the podium, is 11th overall. Now, constructors, Mercedes and Ferrari swap places. Other than that, everything is as was. Alpine is going to need a lot more podiums to catch up to McLaren, sadly, so no real big impact there. Development-wise, we're also still doing very well. Good race from our drivers. And with that in mind, let us see here how we did financially. Almost an extra million, which is, again, we'd like to see it, but we don't need it. We have 100 million very soon here, you know, in savings. So, kind of a moot point finances at this point. Congratulations for the victory. Let's keep going here. We have the next race coming in. I made the suspension rushed, but I forgot to put it in the car, so that's a bad one for me. But again, this is also a decent upgrade to the suspension, so let's take the opportunity here. Car analysis on the suspension itself. How does it now stack up to the rest of the grid? A bit better, but still not great, as you can see. So again, underfloor, king, rear wing, king, and front wing, king. Get these three right, and you'll have most of the work done to winning championships, really. Now, we do have a point here that will go into reactions for Piastri, which is good. And we'll continue on to the race weekend. Finally, having remembered to put the parts in. Q3 in qualifying position. Again, both drivers in top 2. Shouldn't be a problem. Fast lap shouldn't be a problem. And if we're lucky here, we'll get a fairly massive payout if we can, you know, complete the hot streak targets here. Both of them are up this weekend. Let's go to the Dutch Grand Prix. We have just finished the Dutch Grand Prix. And as you can see, Doohan won, with Russell and Verstappen finishing off the podium. Bad day for really everyone. Everyone had a driver that didn't do too well, including us. So for Ferrari, it was Leclerc down in 10th, Perez in 12th, and Ocon in 15th. Oscar Piastri had a accident. He crashed out, destroyed his front wing and chassis, and I believe he got stuck in the gravel, which led to him being unable to rejoin. So he was completely out. But as you can see here, Alpine had a good day, McLaren had a good day. Basically every team had a good day to some degree. One driver in the points, one driver out of the points. Doohan secured fastest lap though, so he gets 26. And with that, he remains now firmly in challenge of the championship. Now, Sainz goes above Ocon, Norris above Perez, Gasly above Bottas, and Magnus above Giovinazzi. So, a lot of changes here, but no changes to the constructors. Just interesting enough. And here you can actually see the destroyed car, no front wing. But yeah, Piastri had a bad race. Doohan didn't really have anyone to fight with because it was a wet one. So, that's also something to consider. But we managed to pull off all our performance incentives here, as you can see, which gave us a good 4.5 million extra. Which is really, really nice. But then again, we don't need money, so I don't know why I keep calling it nice. It is nice, don't get me wrong, but when you have 112 million to play with, you don't really concern yourself too much. Reaction point for Doohan here brings it up to 81. And, as you can see here, board is happy. Our financial report is, I would assume, great. Projected balance, I would assume we should be going up there. So, yeah, projected income 338 million, income 188. We're going to be making a lot of money, all things considered. So, yeah. Decent end projection is 150. think they're definitely a bit interesting. Now, up-and-coming driver, not really. ATR period starts today. We have more hours that we'll probably put into research. Car development report. First and everything but cooling, which is what we have gotten used to. And I guess with that, we can continue to the next race in Italy. So let's get on with that. And we'll have a quick look here at what we want to set as our performance targets. So qualifying 1-2, both drivers in Q3 should be doable. And we should also be able to get past the lap. We'll once again be going for the same position streak of second place, 5 races, 1 driver. Because it's just safer. Again, we could get more, but we could also lose a lot more because we have drivers who have a tendency to crash sometimes when they push, especially with both our drivers' adaptability being low. I kind of expect that gives them a better chance of crashing in wet weather racing, but I don't know. It's just a gut feeling of mine. Now let's go to Monza and see how we do. And we have just finished our Monza race. And the results are, as you can see, plus 18 positions for both our drivers. With Piastri's accident last race, we decided to take extra components. So we have some towards the end of the season. Taken an engine and an ERS component for both drivers, which put them at the back of the grid. But they had recovered by the end of basically the first stint. Was in the lead by then. So pretty good race, all things considered. We didn't have any accidents. We recovered basically 2 back of the grid drives to top 2. Sadly not last to first because again, Ewan started a position ahead of Piastri, but a pretty good race. Now Monza was the only place that we've been lacking the historical fastest lap, time, and we'll have to have a look here and see if this beat it. I don't remember, so we'll have a look. In terms of Drivers' Championship, no real changes. In terms of Constructors, no real changes except for Alfa Romeo here. Didn't see them at first, so they've now gone up beyond Haas. So it'll be interesting to see how that again develops towards the end. Now in terms of development points, drivers end up running quite separate on the way up the grid. Ewan was way quicker than Piastri, so they have not been running the RS trains this race. Now in terms of money, we made a decent amount, about 800,000 extra, which is good because we spent 4 million on components. But yeah, things are looking good. Let's get these points out of the way. 1 in braking and 1 in cornering, as well as Porsche should have 1, which will go into accuracy. So Porsche is now caught up with Doohan again, I believe. Yep, they're both 81. We'll have to see just how well we can develop him. I believe we also have a regulation change in terms of money here. So we could vote for losing money and giving it to the midfield teams, or we could vote against, we could vote for. Honestly, we're going to vote for, purely due to the fact that we will never have money issues again in this save, I think. So if we can make the other teams a little bit more competitive by giving them more money, I'm all for it. Now, in terms of the Grand Prix here, that would be good. Nothing to really note. We did well. And there's a cost cap now, since we bought components. We're down with 13 million left to spare. So, yeah, that's going to be interesting. So, as you can see here, if you buy components, extra components, they will go under emergency purchases. So, with 30 million to spare, we'll be able to just lightly breach the cost cap, which should be good. Our suspension design has finished, and I believe that is the second out of a plan 3 before we start focusing on something else. So we will go ahead and design 1 more suspension, and we'll once again be focusing purely on drag reduction, and we'll try and bring that up fairly quickly, all things considered. So drag reduction, everything else gets put down, and we'll put everything on intense, as we usually do. Now, I believe we also have a research incoming in just a second here, the front wing. And honestly, I think we will be putting this, let's also check the warehouse first. Front wing, is this? No, that was research, sorry. Mentioned this one is better than what we currently have, a little bit. So, we could, of course, manufacture this and put it on our car, which we will. And while we're at it, as I said, we do have an ATR allocation for, I was about to say this semester, for this research period, which I think we'll just put into the front wing. Again, the front wing has 2 stats to get a reduction here. So let's put the safety and wind tunnel allows into this. And again, I've had a couple of questions on earlier videos while we're putting everything into certain pieces, and that is very simple. This is a flat bonus if you do it on a design project, but it's a huge gain really if you do it on research, because again, it gives more flat bonuses. And if we did this again, as you can see, we get more flat bonuses across the entire piece, but we aren't going to do that. We are going to be doing it like this, most likely. In terms of rate cooling, as you can see, we can retain it. It will go way higher, but with just one ATR period here, we can get over 10%. Well, to begin with, we're going to lose some once we get engineers in, but even so, this is, I feel, worth it. We could also do that with braking, which would make actually a lot of gain there, but I don't know. Is it worth it? We'll lose 2% in both of these. The 12% gain, well, 16% gain really. 15.5 around there. Getting cooling. We're actually going to do this. We need to get cooling up a bit on that piece anyway, so we can live with that, and we should have enough time here to run, at the very least, one more project on the front wing there. So we are going to be losing airflow on some of the other pieces, chassis and side pods, but that's the sacrifice I'm willing to make, depending on how well the underfloor has now been researched once we get to it, because I think we'll get that right before we go to Singapore. Financially did not go through, and we'll also manufacture a new chassis, which, okay, this is a silly one. It's the same bug where it doesn't actually tell you when you go from that menu, so make sure whenever you want to manufacture something that you check here, because as you can see, it is an upgrade, this chassis, but we lose a bit of, you know, cornering. It's a very slight amount though, so I think we might as well just manufacture 4 of these, and we'll have them towards the end of the season. Financially, we are getting closer then to the cost cap. We just have 11 million left, and there's still a lot of racing to be done, so we could get in trouble here, especially when we are doing the little thing, but we'll have to see just how punishing the cost cap is, because if it's not punishing, we are going to abuse it a lot. Now, with the research on the underfloor done, we are getting very close to completely alleviating this. We'll still work towards, you know, alleviating it completely, but we are getting also close to getting that 80% on the underfloor. So again, the underfloor is your most important piece. It's where you'll have the most gain. It's just how the game works. And what I mean by this is actually very, very straightforward. The modifiers to stats for your underfloor are way higher than any piece. Your percentage gain here will be higher. Let's say that I have the same expertise on the underfloor and the rear wing in airflow sensitivity. The gains will be higher on your underfloor. This is worth having high expertise. It's worth way more in your underfloor than on any other piece. So again, that is why we are focusing on the underfloor for retaining expertise. And that's also why we're focusing on the underfloor every season with what we're doing here. Now, as you can see here, we're going to have some problems. This project won't really be done in time, but if we put 5 on it, we can do a smaller project. So we'll do this, and we'll get a research project in for chassis or something towards the end. But that alleviates all of our loss on the underfloor. The underfloor will still stay as good as can be. So we have no real loss there, luckily, which is great. Now we are going to have to go to the next race weekend here. Pull off. We'll get off. Get off. Get on with it right now. Get off to it, maybe, was what I was trying to say. I don't know. I am still tired. Work is still being annoying, so I apologize for the lateness of this next part. I know, late in the episode, but still, I feel like you deserve an apology when I'm being slow. So let's get on with it to the next race weekend here in Singapore. And race prep. We don't really need to do anything race prep. Let's go for Q2, Q3, both drivers. Finish position, one driver, both drivers top 2, as we do when it's single. And these two are also okay. With that, we're off to Singapore. The Singapore Grand Prix has just reached its conclusion. Piastri won and had fastest lap. Doohan second. Sainz, Gasly and Verstappen had a fight here towards the end of the race. Sadly, Verstappen lost out and, well, got put down in 5th. Sainz and Gasly up position each. Bottas had a very good race. McLaren in general had a good race. Perez up into 9th. And both Mercedes here are out of the points, which is very unlucky. We had 2 accidents here. Ricciardo and Schumacher hitting each other and Vettel hitting the wall, which caused 2 safety cars. But other than that, the race was pretty, well, pretty straightforward and chill. In terms of driver championship, no real changes here. Norris goes past Ocon by a point. And Piastri gains a little bit on Dune, but with 5 races to go, it's going to be a challenge for sure. Constructors, Ferrari goes up to 2nd place, overtakes Mercedes. And it's going to be, again, interesting to see how this plays out towards the end. Now, development-wise, we didn't do super well, but we did decently enough. Both our drivers did okay. And monetarily, we gained about an extra 800,000 in income, which we like to see. Now, for share, apparently have some points here that we can share on control and accuracy. Problem there. And no points for other drivers. And post-race overview, congratulations. The standard stuff. And we'll have some manufacturing done here of suspension for the next race. And power port, first and everything but cooling, as we like it. And we'll have another manufacturing thing done. Japanese Grand Prix, our goals will be to qualify 1-2, which means both our drivers into Q3, as well as guaranteeing a finish position of 1-2. So looking good there. Let's get on with it to the Japanese Grand Prix. We have just finished the Japanese Grand Prix. As you can see, Piastri won, doing in 2nd place with fastest lap. Russell 3rd, Norris with the impressive 4th for McLaren, 5-6 for Ferrari, 7th for Red Bull, 8th for Alpha, 9th for Aston, and for Mercedes. So, the scoreboard is really starting to get shaken up, but McLaren is starting to end up in a weird situation where they are starting to challenging the top 3. Next season is going to be very interesting. And Perez has had an atrocious season so far, and sadly it's just continuing for him. In terms of the championship, Piastri is catching up to Dune, but still 22 points behind, but 4 races, 6-point minimum if he wins. We'll give him 24. So he's still not out, but it's going to be interesting to see just how this season ends. In terms of constructors, we have no real changes here. Nothing to really report, as you can see. With that, we will continue. Development-wise, not the best race, but still good. Can't complain. And in terms of money, we made about an extra $1 million from incentives, which is really good. Suspension has been finished in terms of its design. We also have points to put in, so reactions for Piastri. And braking for Dune. With that, we apparently have some important email, which is the suspension. But as you can see here, we actually have points for our technical chief, which goes into the underfloor. So again, doesn't really matter for the suspension. Now, aerodynamic chief is probably going to have an effect on suspension, and we're going to go with drag reduction. That should be probably okay. Again, we'll just stick with this man. Should be fine. Weather center in poor condition means that we're going to refurbish it. We could upgrade it. But again, 90% versus 100. I think we are going to upgrade it actually. Let's just get it done. It'll be beneficial to us in the long run. We have the money. And the main concern there would just be cost cap. So we'll have to see just how harsh the penalty is. But I'm getting the idea that breaking the cost cap isn't anything you'd be too worried about, honestly. Now we are going to design another suspension here. Because the expertise that we're working on is getting up there. Still going slowly, of course, but it should be good towards the end. See here. Yep, we are going to, again, just keep on working the drag reduction. Because, again, I want to see if we can breach that 80 barrier. Again, I probably should have chosen a different piece, but suspensions are quick. And now that I think about it, haven't we made 3 suspensions? Are we supposed to do research now? I think we are. because we want to keep as much of this airflow as we can. We also want to retain the brake cooling, so I think we'll do research just to be safe. Get rid of these 3 because we don't really need them, and we'll do this. So we'll get a little bit of cooling, and we'll get a little bit of the airflow front back. Could do this just to speed it along. Now in the preparing my microphone. Now well, it's just like this, and I think we're going to do that. We want to keep the airflow. It is not super important for us, but it's still a boost to, as you can see, cornering and dirty air cornering. So let's just focus on keeping that airflow expertise. And once again, we might focus on something else, but for now, we get the expertise maintained. Then we can go back to trying to maximize drag reduction. Now we are actually running low on chassis, but I believe we made new ones, so we'll switch our cars over for the next race. And our rear wing research has finished. So how we're looking there? Still looking to lose a little bit of expertise, as you can see, but we also gain an extra percentage, well, almost extra percentage, 0.7 so far, in drag reduction. So honestly, what I'm thinking here is I should stop trying to maximize the 3 minor pieces and just trying to bring them up to 75%, and just try and maximize it on, say, rear wing. Now, if we do this, we'd still not be able to get where we want to be. And if we do this, we can get this up. But again, as you can see, yeah, this is basically just 3% gain in expertise. But I still think that it's worth it. We'll get it done before the end of the year, and we'll be able to do one of our minor pieces towards the end. So let us get that in for another rear wing research. Financially, we are getting close to that limit. We have 8.7 million to play with, and I am very curious just how we're going to be punished. So 4 races, 8 million. Again, we should be able to spend that. If not, I'll just have to start a design project, or do emergency purchases until we breach it. Chassis have been manufactured here, so let us go to our car chassis. If we were to pet this, we'll lose a little bit of cornering, gain a little bit of top speed. We gain a lot of engine cooling, so honestly, unless we wreck these chassis, I don't think it's worth using these. We'll use those as spares. Now, this would actually be worth it to... It wouldn't be. Again, it's a very, very minor boost. But again, if we wanted to, we could do this. But for now, we'll leave things as they are. Let's go to our performance targets. We'll guarantee Q2. And we'll guarantee a 1-2 finish. Fastest lap should be okay too. And finish position streak is as it is. So with that in mind, I believe we now are ready to go to the next stage. We have 2 projects coming in 14 days and 17 days. I'll be interested to see how that goes. To the United States Grand Prix we go. The United States Grand Prix has just finished. Doohan came in first, fastest lap. Piastri second, and we have a surprise man here on the podium in Norris. Ferraris both did a decent race. Verstappen did a decent race. Mercedes are okay, I guess. And McLaren and Alfa Romeo closed out the final positions. Currently, Red Bull's Sergio Perez has a very, very bad season. It's going to be interesting to see what happens towards the end here. I believe Stroll actually ran out of fuel, because as far as I could see, he didn't have an accident. So that's kind of funny. And in terms of the Drivers' Championship, Doohan here is starting to get away from Piastri. He will probably have to DNF in order to make up for that, but again, should really be adding 10 points to Piastri's score due to my Monaco shenanigans. So yeah, that might cost him the championship. In terms of constructors, no changes, but McLaren is actually gaining on Red Bull, so we'll have to see how far they are, because there's just 3 races left. In terms of development, we had a very decent race where they switched positions a lot, which means a lot of development, and we can be perfectly happy with that. Money-wise, we completed a big performance incentive, which means that we gained almost 2 million extra money. So yeah, looking good. Now we actually have points for both our drivers. We're going to put one in braking for Piastri, making him 84 overall. For Doohan, a point in reactions, and for Cher, a point in accuracy. So, post-race overview, congratulations, they're very happy, as basically the usual. And we are right on to the Mexican Grand Prix here. The boardroom has deteriorated a bit. Do we want to upgrade it? I don't think we need to. We'll just refurbish. The games that aren't super good. And honestly, that's it. Now, I did forget. Again, I am very forgetful between races. Did we break the the Monza, sorry. All-time record. We did. Now we have all the records here for every race, which is very interesting. Qualifying position 1, 2. As we usually do, reach Q3, both cars. Finish position 1, 2. We'll be going for, and with that, I believe we're off. Because the qualifying position streak is an automatic one. We have no say in that. This one, however, if we're lucky, we'll finish this race. Will leave us an extra 1.6 million. And with that, we're off to Mexico. Here we are. Mexican Grand Prix has just finished. We did a 1-2. Lappin made a very strong showing here in third. I assume either a new upgrade package from Red Bull or a better engine. But the midfield teams had a very good day today. As you can see down below here, Alfa Romeo in 4th, Alpine in 5th, McLaren 6th, Haas 7th, and 10th. Because Mercedes and Ferrari down in 8th and 9th, and Sainz here and Perez both getting crashed out, sadly. Russell here had a horrible race where they, well, he had an early crash. They didn't retire him, and he ended up 4 laps behind us, so Mercedes again, pretty bad day. For anyone else here, not really much to say. Accident happened, the AlphaTauris collided with each other. Also hurt the Astons. In terms of changes here, nothing really happening. 22 points up to Doohan for Piastri. He needs to pray for a DNF basically at this point. No real changes to constructors either, so it's going to be a little bit interesting here, but again, the gaps are wide enough here that I don't think we're going to see any big changes unless Haas can get a really good result here and take on Alpha. In terms of development, we did pretty well here, as you can see. Acceptable. And money-wise, we did more than acceptable with an extra 2.6 million almost. Bring back home. Now with that, it's going to be 2 weeks now until the Sao Paulo Grand Prix. We're going to get a couple of researches done. And we have a new ATR period, which means that we can focus on something. Let us see here what finishes first. Should be suspension expected. And our chassis is still in low stock, but that's fine. We have that extra chassis set that we can use if we need to. And what I'm thinking here is, do we want to do some sidepod research as well? Probably should. Currently our suspension is at 8.58. Our chassis is at nothing, so let's do a little bit of chassis research here. Again, cooling isn't really something that we will focus on. It doesn't seem to be that important. So we'll try and keep, again, the stats for some of the others up and running because it helps. Do chassis, and then we'll also try and do a sidepod research. Again, we're going to focus on our wings and our underfloor. They're just that important compared to the rest of the car. For check-in, quite a good result. I would hope so. Car report was still first in everything but cooling. Good to see. And our front wing research has just been completed. So let's have a look here how we're looking. Brake cooling. We will be gaining a lot of brake cooling next season. We will still be losing a bit in, as you can see, the airflow sensitivity. So let's go ahead and rectify that. We're going to go down on all of these, go up on these, and I think we don't need to focus on brake cooling. Perfectly fine not doing that. So this will bring us up to 17 and 16%. But I'm thinking that we do put in the ATR period here, which should help us out a decent amount in terms of gaining that extra research, as you can see. So I'm thinking we do this. It'll help us out in the long run, which is again what we're going for. So let's put 4 engineers on it. If we put 5, doesn't really matter. So we're going to put 4 on it. This will be the last upgrade on the front wing that we'll have time for. So let's put that in there. We'll probably have time for, again, 1 more upgrade on either underfloor rear wing. Probably we will not be able to, so We'll probably lose some stats due to the regulation changes, but that's just how things are. Reach Q2, reach Q3. Gonna put both cars in for that. Shouldn't be a problem. And fastest lap shouldn't be a problem. Position win streak, we're gonna go with both drivers in the first. Both drivers, 1-2, 2 races. We're gonna gamble here. Now, we only had one DNF so far this season. So having 4 DNFs over the last 2 races is not an impossibility. Let's see if it actually happens. We have just finished the Sao Paulo race. It's the 2-1, P3 seconds. Ferrari had a very good race. Mercedes had an okay race for Russell. Not good for Ocon. Red Bulls got points, but again, this is not where they want to be. McLaren's did well. They lost a little bit of position, but they started pretty high up. And Magnussen was unlucky and crashed out. Now, with this, the Drivers' Championship is settled. Doohan will win the Drivers' Championship. Constructors was settled a long time ago, let's be honest. And if we do 44 points, get 88. So I think we'll get more points than we had last season. And if it wasn't for my Monaco shenanigans, we would be very, very close to breaching that 1,000-point setup. So with that in mind, let us continue, see how we did in terms of development. We did really well, I dare say. And we also made a decent amount of money, 850k extra basically. Good. And our boardroom has been refurbished. Now actually both our drivers have a point, so for Piastri reactions, 97. Which means that we aren't going to be investing anything more points into pace at this stage. We'll be focusing on getting accuracy and control up, and then probably just smoothness so that we'll have complete reign on what tyre strategy we use. For Doohan, put a point into cornering, and we'll check our important emails. Car Park Test Center in poor condition, we will refurbish. That will cost 9 million, but again, we have the money. We have 138 million currently spare, so I will happily spend the money. 2 points into control for Peugeot, bring him up to 75, and the board is happy with our performance at Sao Paulo. Now we're about to get to the final race here in Abu Dhabi. Then we just have the season, well, research left. But looking at where we are, we're probably going to lose a decent chunk of expertise towards next season. So we'll have to see just how bad it becomes, but it's going to be a little bit suffering. Last race of the season, let's go. Just finished the last Grand Prix of the season. As you can see, Piastri in first, Doohan in second. Double points, I forgot about this. So in theory, Piastri could have overtaken him, but sadly with the 13 points here difference, that will not be enough. Now, the second thing to keep in mind here is that the race here ended under the safety car. We had 4 people who did not actually finish the race, sadly. Verstappen here was lagging quite heavily behind. I assume he had damaged his rear wing from an earlier crash. It was a pretty bizarre incident early on that resulted in a red flag. No DNFs, but 4 penalties, red flag, a lot of damage to what I assume is most of the grid. So that made this race quite interesting. Now, with that said, not really too much surprises here. Norris in 5th is good for McLaren. Alpine in 8th. AlphaTauri 9th. Haas 10th. But in general, Perez is actually doing a really good race here in this, the final race of the season with double points. There's no real big changes. Leclerc up to 3rd. Russell down to 4th. Otherwise, the table doesn't change. We have a McLaren in 7th. And we have an Alpine in 10th. Other than that, it's the top 4 teams, which is Ferrari, Mercedes, Red Bull, and of course us. So, constructors too, no change. We end up at 983 points. We didn't break the barrier, but we won every race this season. We only missed out on 1 fastest lap and 2 pole positions. So honestly, a really good race for us. Really good race for us. Really good season for us is what I meant to say. But yeah, nothing changes in the constructors. Ferrari 2nd, Mercedes 3rd, Red Bull 4th. McLaren 5th, Alpine 6th, Alfa Romeo 7th, Haas 9th, 8th, AlphaTauri 9, and Aston Martin last with only 3 points. And they even managed to get a fastest lap somehow. So, this is interesting. We have 21 fastest laps. Haas is 1, and Aston Martin has 1. That doesn't add up unless you know the times were completely equal. but I'm gonna be learning how it works. Now, again, it's a good season. Sadly, we didn't break the 1,000-point barrier. 10 points in Monaco. It would still only bring us to 993. So, it's okay. I didn't do too well. Now, in terms of DNFs, we only had one this season on Piastri. So, taking out that extra engine was actually unnecessary for both drivers. The only thing I needed was the ERS. With that said, though, let's check development. And it went pretty well. And I think I don't remember how many races I've got per for this season, but I've been good. She has been given a lot of time to actually do races. And we earned an extra 2.5 million from incentives, which means that we earned 7.5 million during that last race of the season. Pretty good, all things considered. Can be happy with that. Car pass development is now locked, which I believe means that I cannot emergency purchase anything anymore. I can, but I believe I need to do it now. So what I'm thinking here is that we'll do a test and try and break cost cap. Check punishment. But I'm tempted to go into the rules and regulations here. Financial, cost cap. The only time that the team may break the cost cap is to make an emergency purchase, but it will incur a fine. So if the fine is anything, the only punishment we get, I'm inclined to breach it just to test it. We have 7 million to go on, so do we want to spend 7 million on stuff? Because even if we do projects here, let's see what will be done here. We won't have time to do any big projects no matter what we do, so let's see that we will get 3 small projects done, about 500,000 each. Let's spend 6 million on emergency purchasing underfloors, because I don't think you can do that later on. So we're going to manufacture 4 underfloors in emergency. Sorry, 8 of them, which will be 6 million. And let's just do this and we'll be safe here. But this cost cap remaining shouldn't be taking into account future money spending. So cost cap, we have 1.6 million to go on, which I think we should be able to breach using our current projects, but just to be sure, let's go ahead and go into our warehouse here. We're going to go into our underfloor and we're going to buy 1 more. And we're going to donate all these, I guess. So there we are. Again, we have the money, so it's no big concern. Upcoming board review, I think we'll do well. I would hope so. To refurbish our CFD simulator as well. And thank you from Duhan. He won the Drivers' Championship. Car development is now locked. We can't assign any new parts. That's fine. Congratulations from our technical chief. Very good. Duhan has won the Drivers' Championship. They're over the moon. I'll see some results. Very good. Both drivers in, Drivers' Championship. Duhan 1 point away from breaking that 500-point barrier. And as we said earlier, Ferrari 2nd, Mercedes 3rd, Red Bull 4th, McLaren 5th, and generally a pretty good season, all things considered. Now, we have the board performance review coming up. Let's see how we did. Duhan first place. Williams Racing first place. And we completed all of our, goals here. Our team rating is now 1,000. Good. And our board gave us another 1.5 million to celebrate. The dealer room needs refurbishing. Let's just get it done. And regulation changes for next season, as you can see. We get a bit of a pain in the airflow department. Team hub is in poor condition, which we will refurbish for that extra boost to, of course, experience. We're actually spending a lot of money here. And our pit crew performance went from 96 to 88 in front and rear jacks. I should probably have changed that a bit earlier though. So let's go back to tire changes, get this back up to, again, 80-90. And again, wing adjustment is just not going to be a focus for us. With that, let's see. We have actually appointed to put in aerodynamics. We're going to go low speed downforce. That levels them up. And our race engineers actually have points to spend as well. So that is good. Brings Diego up to 81. That is something I feel that we can be very happy with. Now let's see here if we can get researchers going to the point where we break the you know, the regulations. So I think we're going to start as Sidepods here. Simply because that too has, again, 2 parts. Like this. We don't have any CFD. So this is probably the best we can do. Again, we're going to lose a lot of expertise here, as you can see, sadly. But we'll just have to try and recover it next season. There's nothing else we can do. I will just barely make this in time. So let us research Sidepods. And I might actually have underestimated the cost of the research. Now I think about it, I've probably gone for... It's mentally expected to be researched with... We only have 7 million left before we exceed cost cap. Okay, so again, they are worried. We won't be able to spend any more money on car development, except for salaries and emergency car part purchases. The board will lose a lot of confidence in you and will receive a fine. So potentially we could get fired by this. It makes me want to save the game before we breach the cost cap, just to be safe. Let's see here. We will not have time to make a rear wing. That's just how things are. So we did manage to recover here, just barely, the loss in airflow sensitivity for the rear wing. For the other pieces I can't actually check. The chassis, we are going to lose a lot, just how things are. In suspension, we're going to lose also a lot, just how things are. But I think we're going to do one in suspension, purely because there's more stats to play with, which means that we can, in theory, gain a bigger, well, retain a bigger amount of stats here. Just put 2 engineers on it should be enough. We could put more, and then we'll have to change over if you feel like it. I'm just going to quickly get the game saved just to be safe. There we are. We have 400,000 left of our cost cap. So let's see just how annoyed the board becomes when we break it. 1 point in accuracy for Piastri, point in braking for Dune. Again, we should be able to break it. I can actually emergency manufacture here, so we can break it whenever we feel like it. So what I'm thinking here is that we're still in November. We have probably one more project at the very least that we will do, and we can break it then. Helipad, of course, we're going to refurbish. It's a nice facility, and we have an important email. Staff changes. So our staff is secured, all of them. No need to worry there. Our driver's actually only secured until the end of next season, which means we're going to have to spend a lot of money on driver salaries. That isn't, again, a concern. We have a lot of money. Now, let's see how our underfloor research ended up looking throughout this season. Sorry about that. My stomach is a bit angry with me. So, we actually managed to gain 0.02 research benefit here in the underfloor, but again, we gain 1.11 in drag, and we gain a little bit in high speed. So probably underfloor is the thing that's going to breach the limit first, honestly. Now, can we get a chassis in here before the end of the season? We can. Let's get it done. And again, we're just going to progress a little bit before we do that final emergency purchase and breach the cost cap. But honestly, I think we can just do it now, so just give me a sec. Now, I just saved the game, just to be perfectly honest with you, just in case breaching the cost cap has any, you know, more dire consequences than I worried about. So we have 272,000 left. In terms of car development, none of these projects will be done in time for us to do another one. So we don't have any contracts going out, we don't have anything in particular. So I am assuming that we can go warehouse here. And we can go probably 300. Let's just emergency manufacture a front wing. And as you can see, cost cap reach. This will incur a penalty. Let's do this and see just how harsh that penalty will be. Let us continue and see when we get a very angry letter here from the board. Penalty payment. Unfortunately, we have been fined for going over the cost cap. The size of the fine is based on how far over the cost cap the team goes. We will be fined for every month this season we further exceed the cost cap through staff salaries and facility upkeep. Okay, so we got fined $2,169. Okay. The board will lose confidence. Let's have a look at the board confidence here. As you can see here, they are not very sad. We have 131 million spare, and they're not happy with our finances. Am I gonna get a mail now every single day for penalty payments? I am, aren't I? Oh, we're good. Weather center has been upgraded. Car part test center has been refurbished. All center is now in full condition. Let's refurbish it. Weather center upgrade has been completed. Am I gonna get an angry mail now? Nope, we're good. But yeah, let's just get going here to the end of the season. Consider what we'll be doing now, because this, you know, let's refurbish hospitality. I don't think we need to again upgrade it. It should be okay. Because again, I'm late with this video. I apologize. It's just how things ended up being. Sadly, refurbishing the factory. But I don't know what we want to do now. The update will be out sometime next week. I'm thinking on making either do a little bit more this season. Again, try and maximize expertise, see how high we can get. We could also do like a one-off challenge, do a season with Haas, see if we can win. Or basically just focus on making guides and general tips and tricks. Give me some suggestions. I would be very happy to listen to them. And in general, I have enjoyed this Williams series a lot. It's been a lot of fun. So I might just continue it until we again get to the new patch, if you will. Now the thing to keep in mind here is that let's just check here quick. 12%, so we're going to lose 8% expertise there. We're going to lose even more, well, we're going to lose some brake cooling expertise as well. So that's fine. Now the thing to keep in mind here is that the new patch is going to come out, and we're most likely going to start a new game. As of the recording of this video, I believe Aston Martin is winning, with McLaren following not too far behind. So on my YouTube page there is a vote for who we will be playing next patch on the first game. So if you haven't voted, go have a look, vote for who you prefer. If your option isn't on the table, feel free to add a comment. But what I'm thinking is that we do a old guard run, where we basically kick Stroll out and try and get Alonso in. So we have Vettel and Alonso and Aston Martin. And if we get McLaren, I'm a little bit unsure what we want to do. We want to keep Ricciardo, let him try and redeem himself, or do we try and kick him out for someone else? Honestly, I'll probably end up keeping both drivers and maybe not give him a new contract for the following season. I believe he has 1 year left when you start the game. So again, we'll have to think a little bit of what we want to do, how we're going to handle it. But in general, again, I've had a lot of fun. I've enjoyed this a lot. So I hope you who have been watching this has enjoyed it too, because it's been a lot of fun to make. Team Hub refurbishment has completed. Front wing research has completed. And how did we do? We're going to lose 2 to 3% of expertise here, sadly, but can't really do anything about that. We're going to gain a lot of brake cooling though, so we're happy with that. And as you can see here, we're gaining a little bit in these three as well, so I think we can live with that. And we're not allowed to start a new project because of the cost cap. So again, it doesn't seem to be that much of a punishment really to break cost cap. It's just that you are now on the naughty list, and they take your credit card away basically. That's the best way I can describe it. Our chassis is going to lose a huge amount of expertise, 12%, which would bring us down to 50. So we're going to have to try and get to that back next season, but again, the focus is underfloor, rear wing, front wing, but it's falling so far behind that we might have to do a little bit of focus on chassis, side pods, and of course suspension next season. I'll have to consider that. Now, side pods also will be losing 14-15% of their expertise, which is a bit sad, but we can focus these two on intense, so that should be okay. Now with that said, oh, I pressed up one button too many. Welcome to new season. Time to review this year's regulation, manage the season engine, and negotiate new obligation with sponsors. So we're going to end it here. We are going to be continuing, maybe, I don't know. We could do some while waiting for the next patch, just to have something to do. But in general, I feel like this William Games is done. Might do a little bit of experimentation with, again, maximizing expertise. But I feel like we've won everything we could win. We have done really, really well in all things considered. Game has some balancing issues that hopefully will be sorted somewhat within 1.7 patch. So again, if you want to vote for who we will be playing in the new patch, go to my channel page and you will be able to find a vote there under the community tab, I believe. So yeah. And again, if what you want me to do isn't on the docket, go ahead and add a comment. I'll be reading them as well. I mean, if something is super interesting, I'll consider it. And maybe we'll do 2 runs at the same time, a one-off, I don't know. Because I'm enjoying this game a lot right now. And I can only imagine it's getting better from here, hopefully. Again, I'd like to thank everyone for watching. It's been a lot of fun. Like and subscribe, it helps me a ton. And I would like to thank everyone who's already done so. Again, give me your suggestions for what we should do. And I hope to see you next time. Bye bye.